Nigeria's president makes a bombshell claim about the connection between Boko Haram and the Islamic State. A United Nations-led initiative improves health services for poor women and children. And a jury tells Pharrell Williams and Robin Thicke they've got to give it up, over $7 million. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Topping our broadcast, Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan claims that fighters from the terrorist group Boko Haram are being trained at camps in the Middle East run by Islamic State militants.
The training, yes, because some of the Boko Haram members go to have their training in the ISIS camps and come back. So the linkages are known, and it's not just now that we know about the linkages.
The president's comments to VOA's Chris Stein in Abuja on Wednesday come just days after Boko Haram's leader publicly pledged allegiance to Islamic State. The Boko Haram insurgency is one of the central issues in Nigeria as Mr. Jonathan runs for re-election. Jonathan said his government's strategy to defeat Boko Haram is broader than a military confrontation.
Military option alone does not solve the problem. So we have a total package. We have infrastructure upgrades, we have economic activities, agriculture-related programs, so that some of these young people will have what they could do. We are improving on the educational system.
In Washington, the head of Nigeria's intelligence appealed to the U.S. and international community to share surveillance information it gathers on Boko Haram more quickly.
We have to realize that terrorists have very strong networks, and they don't delay in sharing information. So it is absolutely important that all of us understand what I said, the need to share.
Nigeria's Chief of Defense Intelligence said he is hopeful that the country's troops will win the battle with Boko Haram by March 28th election. The poll was pushed back 6 weeks because of poor security in the northeast from Boko Haram, which has repeatedly threatened to disrupt the election by intimidating voters. VOA's Chris Stein spoke at length with Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan on Wednesday, and he joins us live via Skype from Abuja. Good evening, Chris. Now, you had this lengthy interview. What are some of the other issues the president discussed with you?
Well, a lot of what we talked about was weapons. I was very curious to know how Nigeria was able to make the gains it has made in the last few weeks, and how much of that was the responsibility of new weapons, how much of it was the help from neighboring countries. So we discussed quite a bit about how Nigeria kind of set out to do that, as well as some of the criticisms that have been heard from the neighboring states about their ability to incur into Nigeria. And the president was forthcoming about that. He told me that he was hesitant to allow too much uncoordinated movement by the foreign troops inside Nigeria, because there needed to be considerations of friendly fire, as well as coordination with the Nigerian military to make sure that all the different forces inside northeast Nigeria were on the same page, and that Nigeria had succeeded after what he said was a pretty lengthy attempt to buy weapons, to finally get those weapons and armaments up to the northeast, and that those are making a big difference for them.
Now, Chris, you've been reporting for the last few days celebration by Nigerian military as they claim victory after victory from town to town. Are the citizens, do you get the sense that citizens are also as upbeat, especially in those affected areas, about improved security before the elections?
Well, it's difficult to get a truly global sense of how all Nigerians feel, because I live in the capital, Abuja, and it's just sort of one drop or one part of a very, very large and very, very populated country. I think there are a lot of people here who were planning to not vote for Jonathan because of the issues of security. Given the fact that there have been some towns that have been claimed back by the Nigerian military and some successes against Boko Haram, it's possible that political support will swing back. Those who weren't going to vote for President Jonathan will go back to hoping to vote for him. But it's hard to say for sure how that's going to play out on March 28th.
Now, there has been what people say a sighting of armed foreigners in the country, generating a lot of rumors, speculation that perhaps there could be guns for hire. What do we really know up to this point?
Well, the president told me yesterday that there were indeed foreign contractors who were working in the Northeast, and they were there to train the Nigerian army and military on how to use the new equipment that had been bought. And they had to do this because they simply didn't have time to train them outside of the Northeast. I've learned today that these trainers are Ukrainians, South Africans, and even are British as well. And the weapons are from South Africa, Russia, and Ukraine, and were bought recently.
Well, Chris, thank you very much for giving us those details. We'll keep watching the developments in Nigeria, and hopefully you join us again very soon. Well, Chris Stein reporting live via Skype from Abuja, Nigeria. Well, it's time now for... Well, it's time now for our health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lenore Mudo with news on a United Nations plan to improve the health of poor women and children. Lenore.
Hello, Vincent. More than 300 governments, foundations, and businesses worldwide have joined the UN-led initiative to improve health care for millions of poor women and children. The so-called Every Woman, Every Child movement reports that, as a result, maternal and child death rates have fallen in targeted countries. VOA's George Pudik tells us more.
Every Woman, Every Child, EWEC for short, was launched by United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon in 2010 to accelerate the progress towards achieving the Millennium Development Goals, or MDGs, for health. The movement's senior manager, Nana Kwo, says it has turned into the fastest-growing global public partnership in history.
It is estimated since 2010 that 2.4 million women and children's lives have been saved. This accounts for 40% of those lives that could have been saved if the health MDGs were met by the end of 2015. The 2.4 million lives account for 120,000 women, 650,000 newborns, and 1.6 million children under 5.
Kwo says initiatives towards reducing the death of newborns, family planning, improving adolescent health, and providing life-saving medicine and health services have been focused on the 49 low-income countries, and that improvement has been recorded in all of them. The encouraging results come from historic levels of political and financial support, which grew almost 25% over the last 5 years. Rich and poor countries, private foundations, businesses, members of civil society, and the UN itself have pledged $60 billion, out of which nearly two-thirds have already been disbursed. Kwo says most maternal and child deaths are preventable with solutions that are both affordable and simple, providing hope that the goals are attainable.
To date, we are seeing the fastest reduction in maternal and child mortality, with almost 6.4 million children, less children dying every year, and maternal mortality being reduced by half since 1990.
But Kwo says the agenda does remain unfinished, so work is needed to preserve this progress and ensure that it accelerates towards the ultimate goal of ending all preventable maternal and child deaths within a generation. George Putic, VOA News, Washington.
Joining us now from our United Nations studio is Nana Taona Kwo, Senior Manager of the Every Woman, Every Child movement from the Executive Office of the UN Secretary-General. Ms. Kwo, welcome to Africa 54. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us live. We saw in the report, as you talked about it, that 2.4 million lives have been saved since the initiative was launched. And what can you tell us in terms of the role that adolescent health has played in really tackling this big picture issue? We saw there were some youth that joined the Secretary General on Monday to launch the progress report. Can you tell us how much adolescent health played in this?
Today we're seeing a large proportion of the maternal mortality focused on within young girls, particularly within the adolescent age range. It's critical that we ensure that these young girls are receiving the access to sexual reproductive health services and family planning services, but also ensuring that we end child marriage, because having pregnancies too young is a major risk to both mother and child. But also today we're seeing globally we have the youngest population ever, and we have to ensure that this large cohort population receives their adequate health services as much as possible.
Now, tell us
if we are to achieve our goal of ending all preventable deaths.
Tell us about perhaps one initiative that you could share in terms of how it has helped in curbing the incidence of maternal death.
So we have had a number of very innovative initiatives that have emerged since Every Woman, Every Child was launched in 2010, including Family Planning 2020, which had a large number of countries committing to be able to ensure universal access to family planning services by 2020, including countries from the poorest regions of the world. We also have had major investments in this area, a huge growth in funding over the last 5 years for family planning.
Now, when we look at the issue of maternal health and young women's health, we cannot isolate the fact that men play an important role in this. Can you tell us if anything was done toward this in terms of including men as part of the solution?
Absolutely. The key role of men and their leadership and ensuring that gender equality and empowerment are ensured is critical to the success of ending maternal deaths. The Secretary General himself, being a man and very much leading up front on the issue of male engagement for women's empowerment and also reduced maternal mortality, has been a key factor for mobilizing more political support, particularly with heads of state and also heads of business and companies, which have really come together behind this ambitious goal of reducing maternal and child mortality by 2015.
Now, although some progress have been made, the report Saving Lives, Protecting Future also mentioned that there are some challenges that are remaining. Where do we focus our attention moving forward to ensure that the momentum keeps going?
So first of all, we're seeing now we've been able to reduce under 5 mortality dramatically over the last decade or so. But now a large proportion of deaths of under 5 are concentrated among newborns, particularly babies in the first month of life, and also stillbirths are a major proportion of mortality today. To be able to address this adequately, we also need to address the needs of adolescent health, as I mentioned before. Okay. But also looking at having better services within humanitarian and conflict settings. To date, we see 60% of maternal mortality and over 50% of under 5 mortality focused in these humanitarian settings.
Okay, Ms. Kuo, thank you so much for joining us today. That's all the time we have. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
And that was Nana Taona Kuo. She's Senior Manager of the UN's Every Woman, Every Child program. And that's our Africa Health Report for today. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, Lino, thank you very much. And be sure to watch Lino Mudu's Health Report every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. Now, cyber intrusions into government and corporate information and control systems occur on a daily basis. These invisible activities could cripple vital services and bring normal commerce to a halt. To learn more about what is being done to counter such threats, VOA's Greg Flakers visited a cybersecurity conference in Houston.
When Hurricane Sandy struck the New York City area in 2012, thousands of people were stranded without vital services like electricity and transportation as repair crews struggled to get systems back up and running. Every day, malicious hackers threaten a similar disaster as they probed the computers that control those systems. Concern over such threats, as well as criminal intrusions, brought representatives from government and the private sector together at the Chertoff Group's Cybersecurity Conference. A particular concern here in Houston is the threat to energy systems. Former U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Michael Chertoff is executive chairman of the sponsoring organization.
Well, so we have found malicious code, malware on energy systems. Whether that was there to steal information or to do reconnaissance for attacks is more a matter of speculation. Saudi Aramco was attacked. That's an energy company. It didn't succeed in knocking them offline, but it certainly indicated that energy companies are a target for this.
Chertoff says there will likely be more threats to energy industry control systems by terrorists and some hostile foreign governments. Stuart McClure, CEO of Cylance, says his company's software protects clients from most threats, but Cylance itself is often a target of sophisticated intrusions.
And the only ones that can do that effectively are very large nation states with big budgets, a lot of people, a lot of eyeballs to take a look at what we've done and try and bypass us.
Experts say that technology offers only part of the solution and that constant vigilance is needed to maintain cybersecurity. Companies provide security training to warn against such common breaches as plugging an unverified USB thumb drive into a network computer. The CEO of cybersecurity firm SS8 Inc., Faisal Lakhani, says the human factor is important because technological solutions tend to be too restrictive.
Our economy and the internet is based on this interconnected model, the ability to communicate broadly, to share ideas. And when you restrict that through technology solutions, you fundamentally take away that inherent advantage that we've had here in America.
Lakhani says humans in any organization will make mistakes that allow cyber intrusions, and he says companies need to accept that reality and develop methods of identifying and counteracting threats. Greg Flakus, VOA News, Houston.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. Check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Well, coming up, top U.S. officials push for congressional authorization to combat the Islamic State. Stay with us.
As Nigeria heads to the polls March 28th, Voice of America reporters head to the field, covering the election campaigns and the issues for Nigeria and all of Africa. Turn to Voice of America for the facts. Nigeria Decides 2015. What happens there matters throughout Africa. VOA has the largest team of international journalists in Nigeria and surrounding countries, counting down to the March 28th election and beyond. VOA's Nigeria Decides 2015 coverage is on radio with Daybreak Africa, Africa News Tonight, and Nightline Africa. On television with Africa 54 and Straight Talk Africa. And stay on top online. Go to voanews.com. Special Nigeria Decides 2015 coverage is underway now. A commitment to Africa from Voice of America.
Welcome back. In East Africa, an attack in the Somali town of Baidoa Thursday has killed at least 12 people, including 8 attackers. The assault targeted the official residence and headquarters of Sharif Hassan Sheikh Aden, a former Speaker of Somalia's parliament and the current head of Somalia's southwestern region. Witnesses say militants detonated a car bomb outside the home, then opened fire, triggering a gun battle with guards. Aden is reported to be safe and unharmed. The Somali militant group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for the attack. In Libya, Islamic State militants are claiming responsibility for a bomb attack on a police station in Tripoli. A bomb placed under a police car near the foreign ministry in central Tripoli left a gaping hole in the wall of a building, creating a pile of rubble. A local security spokesman says one officer was slightly wounded. Islamic State militants have claimed most of the attacks on foreign missions in the capital in recent months, though officials there have blamed Gaddafi loyalists. Tripoli is under the control of self-declared government set up after an armed group called Libya Dawn seized the city last August, forcing the internationally recognized government to flee to the east. A U.S. Senate panel grilled 3 top U.S. officials about President Barack Obama's request for an authorization to use force against the Islamic State militants. The 3-year authorization calls for continued limited use of military force to combat the extremist group, which is terrorizing parts of Iraq and Syria. VOA State Department correspondent Pam Dawkins has the story.
When I came here last time, I mentioned that American people are speaking out. Secretary Kerry, we're tired of an endless war. We don't want to go in with a war with no...
Committee will be in order.
After several interruptions by anti-war protesters, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing got into full swing. Urging lawmakers to support the authorization, Secretary Kerry listed atrocities linked to Islamic State militants.
Our atrocities against Assyrian Christian and Yazidi religious communities, the crucifixion of children, the sale and enslavement of women and girls, the hideous murder of captives from as near as Jordan and as distant as Japan.
Lawmakers repeatedly expressed concern about Iran's military support to Iraqi forces and what it could mean for Iran's potential influence in the region.
Should there be any concern by people here that Iran is influencing the outcome against ISIS, does have Shia militia on the ground, does have some of their own personnel helping command and control, is that a concern that anyone that cares about U.S. national interests should have?
The activities of the Iranians, the support for the Iraqi security forces is a positive thing in military terms against ISIL, but we are all concerned about what happens after the drums stop beating and ISIL is defeated.
The debate over Iranian influence is taking place as the U.S. and other world powers near a key March deadline in negotiations with Iran about its nuclear program. Kerry was asked if those talks are influencing efforts to fight the Islamic State.
I believe that much of our strategy with regards to ISIS is being driven by a desire not to upset Iran so that they don't walk away from the negotiating table on the deal that you're working on. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Because the facts completely contradict that.
Islamic State militants seized parts of Iraq and Syria last year, prompting the creation of a U.S.-led coalition effort to fight the militants that now includes about 60 countries. One of the challenges has been that while the U.S. has credible ground partners in Iraq, that is not the case in Syria, says Joint Chiefs Chairman Dempsey.
We don't have that credible partner inside of Syria yet. We're taking steps to build that partner.
The fact that Islamic State has a sanctuary in Syria makes it harder to fight the militants in Iraq, says Middle East analyst Paul Salem.
And most military commanders will tell you unless you defeat the whole group, just defeating in one place is going to be a temporary victory.
He says the lack of a military ground campaign in Syria means that Islamic State militants who are pushed out from Iraq can retreat and regroup in the neighboring country. Pam Dawkins, VOA News, the State Department.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. The Bloodlines trial ends with a multi-million-dollar award. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines.
What's your problem?
In South Africa, President Jacob Zuma refuses opposition demands that he pays back $23 million in government funds spent on upgrading his Nkanda home. And a concert in Cameroon encourages Central African refugees to return home. In Ghana, swings and other playground equipment are used on a Ghana island to generate electricity. Finally, in Morocco, celebrity chef Carlo Creco, known for his innovative recipes, highlights the significance of climate change on the world's traditional foods. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. A California jury has awarded Marvin Gaye's children nearly $7.4 million after determining singers Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams copied their father's music to create Bloodlines. Now, the case was a struggle between two of the music's biggest names. Williams has sold more than 100 million records worldwide, and Marvin Gaye performed hits such as Got to Give It Up and What's Going On. Experts say the verdict could tarnish Pharrell's legacy. He's a reliable hit maker who has won Grammy Awards and appears on NBC's music competition show, The Voice. Well, next up, deafening cheers and a stunned celebrity first row. Well, the fabulous Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson stole the show when they walked the runway at the Valentino show in Paris. The actors closed the show with an epic walk-off as their alter egos from the film Zoolander. Stiller as Derek Zoolander and Wilson as Hansel. The appearance was apparently tied to the upcoming release of the film Zoolander 2. Well, and finally, a new bar in London brings together several trends under one roof. Several years ago, it was the Spixie trend. Then came immersive theater, where the audience is part of the show. Now, this new late-night bar has some customers thinking they have walked back in time and stepped into the 1940s. Located in the trendy Soho area, Cahoots offers visitors an immersive experience of what life might have been like in 1946, just after the end of World War II. The bar is hidden away in Kingly Court and can be found by looking out for signs resembling what you might find on the London Underground. And that is what is trending today. And that is our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1890 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night.
I wanted to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
We are able to touch on things that are important to people on an everyday basis. Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. In a lively half hour, news, sports, health, lifestyle information, comments from our viewers. Africa 54, the best for Africa, about Africa. Join us only on VOA.